Alright, welcome back homies. So gonna do an update for my bossing mules this week. So DMT recently passed, and originally I thought I was not gonna spend any mesos for DMT, but instead I spent about 7.5 bill on some of my bossing mules. So I'm gonna go over some of my characters that had some of the gear improvements, first of which was my Kaiser. So for my Kaiser, most of the gear is about the same. Nodes are the same. I got very small gains. Let me pull up my nodes. So nodes are all the same so far. No improvements there. But in terms of gear, I've actually improved. The main thing was that I did DMT on my shoes. And I'll get to that soon. Just gonna keep scrolling through to finish the rest. So for my shoes, I was thinking that I had some spare mesas to do real quick. I just tapped some ancient boots to 16, transferred them over so they were rare, and just bought a single pack of black cubes so it had actual double tier up. So it went from rare to unique, and immediately tiered up to 2-line strength. So this is the on reveal pot. Then just earlier today, I realized I still had one more black cube left, and I just threw it on my monocle, and it went from 1-line epic to 1-line unique. So no actual gain there, but gives me the potential to use Mastercrafting cubes to reroll for 2-line on my Kaiser. That's pretty much all the updates on my Kaiser. Now in terms for my other bosses or bossing characters, I've been slowly just trying to be more efficient with some of my bossing. I'm trying to remember if my last update mentioned that my arc could do Akechi. So Akechi's been fairly comfortable so far. Gotten a single level just from doing, I think I was just doing Hungry Mudo PQ. So gear's about the same with some potentials redone. I think I tiered up, I tier up in here. My pendant went from epic to legendary during DMT. I think, okay, so my black bean mark went to unique. Shoes went to unique. And then cape went to unique. So I have mostly 1-line stat. I do want to work on using my master craftsman cubes to get 2-line uniques, and then I can start attempting Lotus soon, closer to 15 stat and maybe a bit higher for Damien. Nodes are about the same, but once I get around to it, I'll slowly increase my nodes. I do want to use Roll of the Die just for the extra damage boost. And still using 215% IED fams. I think, yeah. You can see once I have the 215% ID fams, I'll push me to over 90%, which is the minimum threshold I usually aim for. Next would be my Pathfinder. So I definitely took some time to tier up some gear on my Pathfinder to legendary. Ooh, okay, that's a bit laggy there. Let me go over to this side. So nodes are about the same. No improvements to nodes. This character is still clearing up to Akechi at the moment. I tried to do normal Lotus just to limit test myself, and it seems like P1 would take about 6 minutes, so it's not quite there yet. Some of the gear still has to be potted properly, but here's the gear. I haven't had any luck to find 2-line decks, but I'm still working on it. So most of the unique gear that you see that is not 15% is something I rolled during DMT. I believe my gloves on here were also epic, and that was tiered up to legendary. My secondary on tier up, I had this attack and boss damage on review, so I do plan to settle with this until I finish the rest of my gear. I think I'd be pretty content with that secondary for a while. So the next character is my Hoyoung. I haven't finished bossing this week yet. I do plan to do my Hoyoung bossing tomorrow, but I am fairly confident my Hoyoung can now do a catchy. I haven't leveled my symbols yet, but my symbols are fairly high for what they are. I would say my Hoyoung has the best nodes probably out of everyone. I did pour in, just in general, probably a little more boost node or node stones in general to make my Hoyoung stronger. But most of the gear's been already finished from Master Craftsman cubes I had before. Once I do finish my Terror Burn to 220, I plan to replace one of my pendants, the Chaos Horntail pendant, with a fake Dom. And this would mean that this character's gear is almost done. I would just want to get some more levels on it and then also level up the symbols a bit further. I would like to aim for 560 Arcane Force, so I still got a while to go, especially since I still have symbols I haven't unlocked yet. So my next character is my Dark Knight, which I did do some bossing earlier, and I already posted this video for it. So nodes have had no improvements yet so far. Stats, I would say, seems fairly low, but Dark Knight's a lot stronger than I expected so far. Still using 3-set reinforced. Once I get enough Golix coins to buy my belt, I do plan to transition to 4-set superior instead. So I have this belt already 17 starred. I still need to get more Master Craftsman cubes to fix tearing up some of my gear. For my 10-star Absos, I do want to wait till I fodder them appropriately and get them to 15 stars before I tier it up. I could get an epic, but I'm not planning to until I finish two-lining the rest of my other gear first. So the next character is actually my Buck, which has been progressing a lot faster than expected. Mostly just because I was able to get a lot of advantages out of the Terror Burn, right? We've gotten so many node stones, and I haven't received all the benefits from it yet. So I still have. Let me open up Redux. These EXP node stones I haven't redeemed yet, and 210 arcane symbol selector and node stones. I'm waiting till I open up Latch and get that symbol so that I can use some of the symbol selector there. Let me open up my gear. So I did find my perfect trios on here. I have my 2 sets of boost. As I get more levels, then I'll add in some of the other nodes for bossing, but I was able to clear up to C-Vel on here. And C-Vel was fairly long run, but it was still worth the time in Meso. So on here, I'm still running the boss accessory set. Just slowly getting the gear up, but I haven't had enough time to do Scrapyard. Because of that, I haven't been able to get the gear I wanted for the rest of my 5-set Absos. The gear does look a little scuffed, but having at least my weapon and gloves as well as my emblem and secondary has helped me so far. There are some things I do want to fix because you do see that my emblem is not two-lined properly and my secondary is also not two-lined properly. There's a lot of room for improvement on the buck, but being able to clear up to C-Val within a reasonable amount of time has given me confidence in the amount of maces I can earn on this buck, even though it's not fully geared out. It just means to me that as I fund my buck further and finish my 5-set absos, it would be a fairly strong bossing mule to have. And then the last character that I've been working on is my Night Lord, which I wanted to boss on this week, but I don't think I'll have the time to, just because there is a day left and there are some totems I want to run. I still only do easy sickness on here. Just got this to 210 recently from the event, so I have more slots that I can use now, but I haven't really taken a look at my nodes. I do plan to pour in a little bit of nodes, maybe 100 or so, depending on how many totems I do before I start doing some bossing on here. So in terms of stat, it's still fairly low, especially if you look at the overall star force, 205 in the range, so it's not strong enough to do a lot of bosses yet. But once it gets there, I think I should have a solid character, especially once I fix some of the potentials that I tiered up to unique from DMT. I also fixed my WSE on here so that it'd be something more comfortable. In terms of priority, I'm likely going to fund my buck over this Night Lord, just because my buck's already a bit further along, but my Night Lord will slowly reach 3 doors within the next month or so, depending on how many nodes I have in store, and depending on shining as well. So that's pretty much it for my weekly bossing update. I am now earning about 10.7 bill mesos from weekly bosses, plus some crystals still remain for me to sell daily boss crystals. I get a few 100 mil from that, so I'm almost at 11 bill mesos per week. It could be a little lower just because I started carrying normal low main again for the guild, which is fine. So I do have most of my CRA bosses that are giving me the largest amount of mesos. While I'm still doing this, I'm just waiting to see how much further I can fund some of these CRA bossing mules. I might create 1 or 2 more, but because of the lack of time with shining, I might end up just doing more totems instead of trying to prep more bossing mules, but we'll see how that goes. I'm not going to be around for the next weekly update, so the next weekly update you'll see will be likely after Shining Star Force if it happens on July 23rd. So we'll see what happens next and see you around, homies.